So welcome back, or welcome back to the channel. For this case of Fifth on Friday, we are going to cover the case of Marianne Measles. This case is not as much covered. I think I found like 3 videos on YouTube about it, and one of them was like a recap. So it's like 2.5, if you want to call it. And so anyway, so I'm glad this case does have coverage considering how crazy it is, and considering like the sentences everyone got and like why they killed her in the first place. So we're gonna start with Marianne. Marianne Janine Measles was born on March 22nd, 1984, to Sydney and Martin Measles. So her father Martin had apparently died on June 16th, 1987, when she's like 3 years old. So if you're wondering like where like in the story her father is and all that, he died when she's like 3. So just a heads up now. So when Marianne is about like 13, it didn't seem like an exact age, but she's 13 at the time that obviously the big part of the story comes in. She winds up hanging around with like a bunch of adults by the name of Maggie May Bennett, Ronald Richcock, Alan Walter Jr., but he goes by AJ, so I'll be calling him AJ because that's what all the sources are calling him. Keith Foster, Jeffrey Bordet, June Sedger, and Dorothy Hollis. Oh, and also Dean Dupois. Can't forget about Dean. Okay. So Maggie apparently was dating AJ, and Dorothy was dating Keith. June was dating Jeffrey, but she would occasionally sleep with AJ. Don't know if it was like a threesome or if it was like a one-on-one thing, like they were cheating. Like June was cheating on Jeffrey with AJ, or if he knew. It didn't say. So obviously, Marianne being like 13 and he's all being like grown-ass men, they're obviously, this is not going to turn out well. All the guys are pretty much going to try to like groom her, and they pretty much like coerced her in order to sleep with them. And even if she did give proper consent, and I'm giving air quotes on consent because 13, you're not, obviously, A, is not old enough to get consent, and B, she's a child and you're an adult, right? And so she at least would tell Dorothy that, hey, your boy Keith done coerced me in order to have sex with him. So the way it apparently goes is that June told Dean, and Dean told AJ, and AJ told them that we need to scare her, and so she don't press charges against us, because obviously that's statutory rape. That's a whole ass crime. So apparently AJ decides he wants to go about this the Sicilian way, which apparently is pushing someone's head underwater, basically almost killing them until they agree not to press charges against you for whatever crime you done committed against them. So then in September of 1997, Keith Foster apparently had admitted to having sexual contact with Marianne, and even her apparently staying over his place, like staying the night over like multiple times. And apparently he even got into a wreck, which it didn't, I guess that wreck must not have been like major, because I only seen it on like a couple articles. Apparently it was him being Kevin, and then there was like a random 12-year-old boy who wasn't named, and he would only get charged with causing injury to a minor. And for this reason, he would get sent to like some halfway house. So on October 9th, 1997, Marianne would tell her mom Cynthia that she had been forced to having sex with Alan, who apparently was 19 at the time, and Keith was like 21. Obviously, her mom being like, well, that's rape. We gotta go to the police, make a complaint. Marianne don't want to give a statement, so charges pretty much were never gonna be. So they didn't want to go do anything because Marianne didn't want to like speak on what happened, even though technically what happened is a crime. So then at one point, it doesn't say where, but apparently Cynthia sees AJ and she says, you finna go to jail for what you did to my daughter, even though it doesn't say like where they were at. And I guess Keith like wasn't around, it was just AJ when it happened. So then on October 19th, 1997, Marianne apparently calls her mom, and in the background, Cynthia would say that she heard like 3 girls like threatening her, which obviously the 3 girls would be Maggie, Dorothy, and June, because these are like their boyfriends, and she's trying to get them to go to jail, even though their boyfriends have committed a crime and do need to go to jail. And so the girls, they're threatening her daughter, so they go pick her up. Doesn't say from like where. She gets picked up. They go to the supermarket as like a pit stop, but unbeknownst to them, they're being followed by the group. And apparently in the van that is owned by Maggie, but it's driven by Ronald. So Ronald is a somewhat important character to the story. They get to the supermarket. Cynthia, for some weird reason, decides to leave Marianne inside the van. They kidnap Marianne out of the van while Cynthia's in the store. And apparently somehow nobody sees this, even though it's like broad ass daylight. So apparently not all 8 of them were like in this van, because I know obviously unless it's like a big ass van, it's not gonna be able to fit like 9 people. So basically what happened was the van is driven by Ronald, but it's owned by Maggie, so it's presumed Maggie's in the van too. Jeffrey's already in the van. He's just chilling. He's just waiting. Dean is the lookout, and Dorothy and June, apparently they're the ones who drag her into the van. June and AJ, they're the ones that drag Marianne into like out of the car and I presume into the van. And Dorothy and Keith, they pull up in like a whole separate vehicle. So obviously not everybody gonna be able to fit in this van. So I've never seen like pictures of the van, but I can imagine it's not a pretty big van. So now all 9 of them go to a spot that apparently was like a hangout spot between the adults. And this spot was apparently near the Housatonic River. I don't even think I pronounced that right, so please forgive me. And apparently they drag Marianne out of the van by her hair. And of course they all say they start taking turns beating her. And apparently at this point, this is where the story gets like conflicting. Like, so I should mention this. So this is important. So apparently Dean, AJ, and Keith, they take Marianne to the back of the van and they all pretty much gang rape her. Then after this happens, she's able to escape like for a little bit, but then June basically drags her back and basically is the one that like drags her back to the group to like finish the job. So at this point she's brought to like an embankment. And her head's obviously pushed underwater because apparently that was like the original plan. Dean apparently would be blamed for pushing all his weight on her because Dean, as you can see in the photos, he's a bigger guy. And then apparently AJ would say that he didn't want to kill her, just like scare her to the point of near death, but not actual death. And then apparently there was a point where obviously they didn't see any bubbles like coming out of her and she wasn't resisting anymore. So at this point it was obvious that she had been dead. So then AJ apparently asked Dean what she would do now that she's dead. And then Dean pretty much said, have sex with her dead body. Necrophilia, pretty much. So AJ takes a blanket apparently out of Maggie's like van. And he does exactly that. And apparently he does it in front of everybody. So everybody pretty much is watching this. So then afterwards it says that her body was wrapped in a blanket. I don't know if it's the same blanket that was just used, that AJ just used to, But it says in a blanket. And apparently they wrapped chains and a padlock around it, so that way like to keep it all together. And then they throw her in the river, basically expecting her body to like not be found, or at least anytime soon, like nothing to connect them to her murder. So then Keith went to go throw Marianne's clothes like into a washer, apparently at an old pump house that apparently was like a hangout spot, like I mentioned. And then the group went to go get high. So remember how I said this case happened in like October? Well, her body's not found until like July of the following year, so July 15th, 1998. So she's been missing for like all these months, obviously, but they didn't know that she was deceased. Well, the governor offered a $50,000 reward for anyone who could lead to the arrest and obviously conviction of the killer. Because I guess at this point they believed there was only one killer. And so Maggie even had the audacity to go to Marianne's family and be like, I can babysit like her sisters, because Marianne obviously wasn't the youngest. She had like younger sisters who obviously would be in the need to be babysitting age. So Maggie offered her condolences even though she was involved in Marianne's death. So the case apparently went unsolved for like almost 5 years. But then on October 15, 2002, apparently by that point like all 8 of them were arrested. So they found all 8 of them. Apparently Keith had apparently went on the Maury show in 2000. Don't even know if that's true, but apparently, to some sources, apparently he did. And apparently on the show, he admitted to, like, anger issues. So they used that, obviously, against him in court. Like, anger issues against women. And so then there would be, like, a former inmate, apparently named Michael, who apparently would testify, like, in court. He basically said that he and AJ were planning on killing Marianne all along. This wasn't they would just scare her. They were going to kill her. And then apparently Keith's dad even said, no Marianne, no case. Allegedly, of course. Because remember, those two were going to go to jail for, like, the, statutory rape. Because, they were over here, like, obviously all 5 of them were doing it, but, like, Marianne only told of those 2. So only those 2 were going to get convicted, and them and their little girlfriends was not trying to have it. So Maggie pretty much gets 19 years in jail in exchange for testifying against the others. Because, when you testify against other people, you obviously get shorter sentences, even if you don't deserve it. Unless you're, like, the mastermind, then you would get, like, life instead of, like, death or some shit. And so, she gets 19 years. Keith thought he only deserved 300 hours of community service and then 2 months in jail. Thank God he got, like, 60. So, he didn't get that. He got, like, 60. He got, like, So it looks like AJ actually got the worst sentence because he got 60. Jeffrey got 50 years with possibility of parole after 25, and Dorothy got the same. Dean apparently got 47. June apparently got 36. So Ronald, the driver of the van, he pretty much got 36 years, and then 6 years will be added later to his sentence in like 2009 after it was believed that by the prosecution that you pretty much drove Marianne to her killers. Or it was the killers to Marianne, because he was driving the van to the supermarket to kidnap Marianne, you know, all that good stuff. So then June winds up getting 30 years. So pretty much it looks like June got like the second lightest sentence, and Maggie got the lightest sentence. Came up for parole in like 2018, because remember I said she got like 19 years. And they, apparently the parole board denied it because Marianne's family obviously did not approve. Which I knew like you could go there and be like, hey, you know, remind her what she did. It still affects us to this day. But apparently the sole reason they did not approve was because her family did, like Marianne's family did not approve. So then the following year, she gets approved, and Maggie is currently out. Now, of course, the others are still serving their sentence as they should, but Maggie got lucky and she's out early. So, definitely know what you think down below. I don't even think Maggie should even be out. I think she should have got a regular long sentence like everybody else. But like I said, she testified against the others. That's how she got the little plea deal. That's how it normally goes. So definitely, let me know who you think should have got sentenced to the longest. Looks like AJ is going to be in jail for the longest. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So, definitely let me know down below. Like I said, not a very well-known case. I think I only got like 5 sources for the story. But, you know, I always try to go my best, try to find what I can, at least publicly, and even try to contact family members if possible. So, yeah, definitely know what you think below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!